It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today, do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing, and this is the perfect time of the year to get inside and do a little bit of racing. The temperature is perfect. You're going to get heated behind the wheel. You're not going to get overly heated and sweat a bunch. You're not going to get too cold. It's going to be the perfect time to get over to Joe's Karting and do a little racing.
Well, and we're pre-recording this on a Thursday afternoon when it's raining outside, so that makes it even better to be over there.
Although I have raced at a karting track in the rain, and that was a rather interesting experience.
Yeah, but slideways, you're supposed to be slideways.
That's true.
So the rain doesn't affect it much.
It affected me. I will say that to the day I die, that I had that race won over Chris Krug and McKenna Haase, and the rain came and she got by me.
She'd put on her rain tires, and she scooted right on by, huh?
Yeah. She might have had some other abilities that I don't, but we won't talk about those.
You mean like regular driving abilities?
I'm not even going to say I could drive just fine. You rode back with me from Kansas. This poor guy had a tough Saturday night at the hotel room at Kansas, and it was just dragging all day. And the ride home, he was trying to catch some Z's. And riding with me makes it very difficult. There was a lot of
giggling from the driver's seat is what there was. And I got whiplash is basically what it amounted to.
What a fun time down at Kansas. I mean, it's almost criminal how much fun we get to have.
Oh, Friday and Saturday were great. We had a real good time. We did some nice interviews with the people that you heard most of them last week. You're going to hear the last one today. We did our networking like we always do. We met a new racetrack president, which we have no idea yet where that's going to lead us because these PR people have already contacted us.
Yeah.
So
we might be doing trips over to Chicagoland Speedway. There's a lot of other pieces that got to fall into place. But
there might be crewmen for a day going to Chicagoland. How cool is that going to be, folks?
That would be awesome. But a great weekend, and we got to say thank you to everybody that makes it possible. Zach Ralston Racing for opening up and let us hang out with him. David Starr Racing, who we got to hang out with on Saturday, and then Starcom Racing, who let us hang out with them all weekend long and big time on Sunday for the Cup Series race. So much thank you to those guys for all their support. And we literally, we came back, I sent them an email and said thank you on Monday, and we're already discussing the May event and how we can make it better. So a lot of great things came from this weekend at Kansas. Because we've got to get to Ross Chastian, we're going to make turn one pretty quick. So that way we've got time for Ryan Kitchen in turn 2. We've got time for Rowan Mason in turn number 3, and we can get you set for today's race at Martinsville in turn number 4. But I want to talk about the results at Kansas and some of the things that unfolded. I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised at the way Kyle Larson was able to turn that 42 around, literally turn that 42 around, and almost make the win. He really battled at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, he walled a car during practice and had to go to the backup car to qualify, and it showed. I mean, I don't think he had a lap in that car, and qualified. It was late 20s, 27th, 28th, 27th, okay. But was able to get the car in enough shape that he was very competitive when his average finish at Kansas had been, 25th, 26th?
That's what I'd heard, yeah.
So,
but apparently Ryan Blaney hadn't heard that.
You know, you saw Brad Keselowski realizing, even though he was starting 4th or 5th or something, he started up front.
5th.
That his car wasn't good enough to win. So you saw them trying to do some pit stop strategy that ended up backfiring on them. When everybody else stops under green and you just stay out there hoping for a yellow, and you're losing 3/4 of a second to a second a lap. I mean, you're losing so much track position in 12 or 15 laps. So his whole day backfired when he gambled, and but he knew that's what he had to do. You know, Kyle Larson knew he had to win, so he drove the wheels off it, hoping he could do that. But, you know, in the end, it didn't work for either one of those two guys.
I don't think enough can be said for Kyle Larson and what he was able to do. To have a bad car, qualify 27th, not go a lap down in that first stage. I mean, there was a lot of green flag laps they ran in that first stage before the first and only issue caution came out. It was pretty much a caution-free race. The fact that he didn't go a lap down, that they were able to make changes and get that car right enough to where he was able to maintain the position, wasn't able to finish in the top 10 in the first stage, but finished 6th in stage number 2 and third on the day. I thought he had a better car than Kyle Busch, just not able to get around him at the end there. And a third-place finish, that's a good finish for what he's had at Kansas Speedway, but it just wasn't good enough for him to move on.
Well, yeah. I mean, ever since the Roval, he'd been really struggling, and he ran up front a lot at the Roval. Mm-hmm. If he'd have had just one of these other 2 races where he'd had a pretty decent finish, a third-place finish at Kansas would have got him where he needed to be. But that just wasn't in the cards for him.
Absolutely.
You had a guy like Martin Truex that looked like he might be in trouble halfway through the race, but he ended up being able to advance. But you had Bowman, Larson, Keselowski, and Blaney unable to advance. Blaney was trying to drive the wheels off it. He knew he had to win. We heard an interview with him on Saturday morning where that's exactly what he said. He goes, I'm going out there to try and win this race. We can't points race. A win is what we need.
At one point in time, because of how bad Martin Truex Jr. was doing, Blaney had pointed his way in because Truex didn't finish in the top 10 in stage 1, but Blaney finished third. While Truex finished 10th in stage 2, Blaney finished second. So Blaney was able to pick up quite a few points on Truex, but in the end, Blaney slipped back to 7th. Truex was able to finish 5th, and Truex would have had to finish closer to the low teens in order for Blaney to be able to point his way in.
Right. So you've got your field set moving on to Martinsville, then Texas, then Phoenix, and then you'll have 4 guys show up at Homestead. The one thing that you probably wouldn't have predicted, even when you started with 16 guys for this playoff, is that you'd have 4 Stewart-Haas drivers still left in the top 8. That's
pretty crazy. I mean, and to have all four of your drivers still in when we get into the round of 8, that is something that Stewart-Haas is very proud of and absolutely should be.
Well, and Harvick, he was one of the top 3 or 4 guys the whole season, so you kind of figured he'd be there. But to have the others advance, you got the win out of Almirola, which was, kind of out of left field. Mm-hmm. Even though he was fast at Talladega, you didn't expect him to win. Everybody was kind of looking at Harvick or Kurt Busch to pull that win off.
Yeah.
And both of them had gas issues. So then the other 2 Stewart-Haas cars ran first and second. So that was the crazy race out of the 3 in this round, which exactly what everybody expected.
Right.
So we'll see what goes on at Martinsville. Martinsville, had been was a crash fest last year at this time. The year before at this time was the Kenseth and Logano incident. So I don't see any.
There's no scenarios out there that you would be watching for today. Everyone seems to have been racing pretty clean.
The only one that you could have seen is if Jimmy Johnson was leading and Truex was second.
Yeah.
But that with Truex moving on, he's got to play it by the book and try and get a good finish out of this deal. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a few guys. You're going to see Denny Hamlin really running hard, trying to win, so he can keep his streak alive. Same with Jimmy Johnson, and they both had success at the track.
Let's recap the results at Kansas. Chase Elliott able to finish 10th in stage 1, 4th in stage 2, and then get the win on the day. All of a sudden, we were talking about this off the air. You turn the clock back 6 weeks, and we're talking about how much of a threat Brad Keselowski is. Now he's eliminated. Chase Elliott has won 3 of the last 11 races, 2 of the last 3, and all of a sudden we're looking at him going, okay, now he's the big threat. But kind of lurking there are the big 3 that are still in this chase. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr. are still in this chase, still in the playoffs. And while they're having some issues, you're just waiting for them to pop, and all of a sudden they're hot again.
Well, exactly. And they can win. Harvick for a couple of years owned Phoenix when we get down there. I don't think Kyle Busch is really owned anywhere, but he can win anywhere.
He's pretty good at Texas. That's going to be his track that he's going to. I think he'll have the best shot at. And Martinsville. He's really good at the short tracks.
And they've all got a bunch of playoff points. Mm-hmm. So it's they're up in a pretty good spot just starting before we've even run the first race. Not quite what Truex had last year when he was 70-some points up. He could have skipped a race and still been in the move-up situation. But you're going to see, obviously, Truex is going to be out trying to win one of these 3 races because he's the one that's kind of been struggling out of that bunch right now.
And let's keep in mind, when we get to the round of 4, the scenario changes just a little bit. While I would absolutely say that in the round of 8, Martin Truex Jr. will go for a win every time. When you get to the round of 4, there is no bonus playoff points that move on to Homestead. So getting that win, getting that bonus playoff point does you no good if you're already locked into Homestead.
But still, getting locked into Homestead, as just like Chase Elliott said when he won Dover, I don't have to worry about Talladega, which everybody knows is just such a boondoggle. But, if he goes out and wins Martinsville, then he knows he's going to Homestead. So they can even do a little experimenting, even though they've got none to experiment for.
Yeah.
The team's going away.
The only advantage with one of the already winning going after another win is that they could really affect somebody like a Boyer, Logano, Busch, or Almirola, even the guy that's on the bubble. They could affect their ability to get into the next round by stealing a win away.
Well, they wouldn't be stealing it if Truex did it. Stealing wins would be Almirola if he decided to win 2 races out of these next 3 or something like that.
Well, what I was saying is if let's say Truex wins at Martinsville.
Spoiler.
Yeah, he could steal something away from Almirola if Almirola's on the bubble and Truex gets a win at Texas and Almirola was there to be able to get it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. So
yeah, he's being a spoiler is what he's being.
A lot of different scenarios. So Kyle Busch goes into today's race 40 points above the cut line. Kevin Harvick sits in second, 39 points above, and Martin Truex Jr. 32 points above. Those 3 drivers sitting pretty good going into this race. But the great thing about the race 1 in round of 8, nobody is safe. You start to feel a little bit more safe maybe in race number 2 or race number 3. Chase Elliott, first car above the bubble in 4th, 3 points above. Clint Boyer, first car below. He is 3 points below the cut. Joey Logano is tied with him, 3 points below, and so is Kurt Busch. So it's a 3-way tie for that first bubble position, 3 points behind. And then you've got Eric Almirola with 12 points behind the cut line in 8th. Well, that's going to wrap it up for what we have to talk about in turn number 1, but we're not done yet. We're only halfway through turn number 1 and still plenty of show to go. If you listened to the live show last weekend, you can you remember that I got a little off on my counting, and we ran out of show before we could get to our interview with Ross Chastian, who's an Xfinity Series and Cup Series driver for NASCAR. We had an interview scheduled with Ross Friday afternoon. We unfortunately got to the track late. We had to reschedule it for after the Xfinity race on Saturday, and we had every intention to get to it on Sunday morning, but unfortunately we just ran out of time. So for all those Ross Chastain fans out there, here's the interview. We sat down with Ross after the Xfinity race, and his bad luck for the Xfinity race continued on Sunday through Premium Motorsports and the Cup race, but we started off by talking to him about kind of a rough race, and it got started off rough very early.
Yeah, we did. I drove into that first wreck on that lap 1, turn 1 there, and tore it up, and then the hood blew off and the fenders blew off, and so we had to keep stopping and taping stuff down and trying to secure everything. And the hood blew off and our teammate ran it over, of all people. So tough day for the red cars for sure. Talk
about going into turn 1 and where that accident happened at the beginning of the race. The announcers on the MRM were talking about how loose the cars might get because of the wind coming through turn 1 and into turn 2 would take air off the tail. Do you think that's what caused the issue at the open of the race?
I haven't seen a replay, so I don't know if there was contact or what. I started at the back and was just going by a couple of slow guys, and all of a sudden I saw the car sideways, and right then I was just hitting the brakes. My spotter said, back it down, they're wrecking, and I drove in the back of some people. So it's nobody's fault but my own, and I don't know what started it though.
Hood coming off, that was a bit of a weird thing. Have you ever had that happen in your racing career?
I have not, man. And when it did, it was quick. I saw it buffer a time or two, and it was gone, and it just disappeared. So it's just one of those things you see it happen, but it's never happened to me, so it was scary.
Good thing though, it didn't hurt anybody. It ended up getting hit by, you said, your teammate, and he ended up destroying the thing, and it must have cleaned itself off the track.
Yeah, it just went into a million pieces and never to be seen again. So I don't know.
And that was kind of a rough one because that was a tribute hood for you.
It was, yeah, for Charlie Blanton. So yeah, we hate that bad deal.
Now you got a race coming up for the Hollywood Casino 400. Talk a little bit about your prep for that race and how that car feels.
My prep for now will be go to the room, eat, drink a lot, and go to sleep, and sleep in as long as I can tomorrow, and get ready, and then come to the track and race. So that's it.
Is everything you're done pretty much done? Everything you can do to get ready for that race tomorrow?
Me, yep, all done. We've practiced and qualified everything, and now we race.
Well, the weather, on a good note, is supposed to be about like it was today, so you don't have to worry about a bunch of hydration issues or anything like you might have normally here at Kansas.
Right. Yeah, no, it is something. I still hydrate, so I need to use the restroom here momentarily because I haven't yet since I got out of the car.
Oh,
but
you should have told me that because we might do a long interview.
Yeah, well, that's all right. So, yeah, no, I prepare the same week in and week out. And I'm trying to push myself further in all those categories to just be more prepared.
Exciting couple of weeks for you, getting that win over in the 42 car. It went to victory lane Saturday in the Xfinity Series, so you got to see that happen again. But also that win, I think, has secured a ride for you in 2019.
We're working on it. Nothing's done yet, so you might know more than I do, I guess, if you're going to say that. But the 42 car won again this weekend. That was cool for John Hunter. Super happy for him and everybody over there on that whole deal because they deserve it. They put in the time, the money, and the effort, and I'm happy for them.
I thought you were heading over to Premium Motorsports for a full-time ride next year.
Well, we're running the Cup Series over there. Yeah, same as we've done this year.
You're still looking for a full-time Xfinity ride?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Would you do full-time both series?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that a lot?
I did this year. I'm going to run the truck race at Texas. Yeah. No, this is easy stuff, man. This is the easy life.
You're very relaxed and having a good time. I mean, what could you get any better than this?
Nope. Living my dream, working with great people. And just trying to become the best race car driver I can be.
You're living a lot of people's dreams, not just yours. You're living a lot of them. And I mean, I was official. I worked over in the Craftsman Truck Garage for Wayne Otten for several years, and so I know the dream you're living. Every day I went to the racetrack was a good day in life. You know, you had bad days at the track, but you never worried about it.
Yep. No, that's the thing is. Nobody here is forced to be here. We all come and work in racing because at some point we loved it, and then we kind of liked it, and now we're working in it. So, no, I'm still getting to live my dream, so I'm happy.
That win in the 42, was that a lot of satisfaction for you because you were put into some really good equipment and you were able to get the job done?
Right. Yeah. So it was tough because we went to Darlington and was fast enough to win, and we crashed, and I blame myself a lot for that. Both of us, but I'm the one that could have changed the outcome. He wasn't going to, so that just was what it was. It was a racing deal, and so then the pressure, was even higher going to Vegas, But I just wanted that we went there same mentality we did to Darlington. It was just set to kill and just stomp them, and that's what we did. So happy the 42 was able to do that today after their last pit stop.
Well, with my experience in the sport, I always love seeing it when the guy that's normally rudging the lower budget stuff gets in the good equipment. And I mean, you dominated Darlington. You were Darlington. This guy here happens to be a Stuart Haas fan, so
that's all right. That's all right.
He didn't really know how to approach that, but I think it's great that you're getting those opportunities now, and you're making them work.
Right. Yep, just driving race cars the best I can.
Well, and just to clear the record, I'm also a Ross Chastian fan because he was one of the first drivers to do an interview on that recorder.
Really?
At Iowa Speedway, we stood in a closet.
Right.
And we talked to you for a little bit.
Yep, that's right.
That was a few years ago.
It was.
You know that a lot of people will say that, well, if I was ever in good equipment, if I could be in a Stuart Haas race or a Joe Gibbs car, I could definitely win. And so many guys have had that opportunity and not been able to do it, but you were able to do it. You were in that quality equipment and got the job done. Does the conversation start a little bit easier when you're looking for a full-time ride at a Cup Series and you're like, hey, look what I was able to do?
No, I'm working with the same people I worked with before that, so they believed in me before and they still believe in me and I believe in them, so. Nope, it's we're staying the course. There's a bigger picture with Premium for long term, what we want to do, and I still have such a long way to go to learn in those Cup cars behind the wheel, and on the business side, and I got a good group over there as well here at JD Motorsports that I'm learning from. They've been here and done it 1,000 times, and this is only my couple years into this, year number 4 in Xfinity and year number 1 in Cup, so. I got a long way to go. So
again, that's Ross Chastian, driver of the number 4 JD Motorsports in the Xfinity Series, and he also drives for Premium Motorsports in the Cup Series. So again, we do apologize to any of the Ross Chastian fans that were expecting to hear his interview last weekend, and we especially apologize to Ross. He really went out of his way to make sure we had the interview done and ready to go by Sunday morning, and then we fluffed up and weren't able to calculate time and well enough to where we were able to still get his his interview on the show. So do apologize for the delay, but there it was. If you happen to miss any of last weekend's show or you miss any of this weekend's show, you want to go back and listen to the Ross Chastian interview, you can always find us on YouTube at the Joe's Karting YouTube channel. We have every single show for the last, 5 years. Almost 6 years the show's been on. We have nearly every single show. You can go back and listen to interviews with some of your favorite drivers. And you can even go back and listen to that interview we talked about with Ross Chastian at Iowa Speedway in this fancy little closet that we were given access to. So cool stuff over there on the Joe's Karting YouTube channel. Speaking of cool stuff, a lot of show left to go. Coming up in turn number 2, Ryan Kitchen, driver of the number 21 Bade Motorsports Race Saver Sprint Car, going to join us. Talk about how he got into racing, what got him to the 21 at Bade Motorsports, and if he's going to remain in that ride in 2019. Also, we're talking with Rowan Mason, driver of the number 28 hobby stock throughout the area, races primarily IMCA, but he'll pick up a couple of races here and there when they're non-sanctioned events. And so we'll sit down and talk with Rowan about his career and also if he's going to be doing any racing later this year or if he's done for the year for 2018. Looking forward to 2019. So that's coming up in turn number 2. And as always, turn number 4, we will preview today's race at Martinsville. And if we have some time, we'll take a trip around the headlines in the NASCAR world.
Finding a home can be the most important decision in your life. It's the simple factors of neighborhood, garage size, the school district, and commute that get overlooked by most realtors. Those are the aspects that Jim Blazina has been focusing on since 1988. From rental properties to your forever home, the Racing Realtor will work hard to get you exactly what you're looking for, and he can help list your home for a speedy sale. Contact Jim Blazina today, 402-980-8400, or jblazina at npdodge.com.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to sit down with a local dirt track driver and a guy who has raced quite a bit of different versions of sprint cars. And this year, he sat behind the wheel of the number 21 Bade Motorsports Race Saver Sprint Car at Eagle Raceway. We're talking about Ryan Kitchen. And Ryan, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You had a pretty good year at Eagle, but before we get to talking about your run at Eagle and throughout the area, I want to talk about kind of your history behind racing. What all have you raced, some of your big wins, and maybe plans for the future?
Well, I started off racing go-karts probably around the age of 13 or 14, and we followed the IKF Speedway Tour, the Midwest Series, and from there, Dad offered me if I wanted to drive the sprint car when I was 15, so we threw one together, and that's how I got started in sprint cars.
360, 410?
360.
Yep.
Straight from a kart to the 360.
There was no 305s around that time for you to jump into unless you want to go to Knoxville, right?
Yeah, there was. I don't even know if Knoxville had them then when we started. It was probably a couple years after, and then I think I-80 started that 305 series for a little while. A couple years after I started. Did you
go? I know you raced wingless for a little bit just recently, right?
Yeah, we started doing wingless about 3 years ago. I got a call from guy from Kansas asking if I wanted to drive a non-wing 410, and I had never done it before in my life, and I jumped on the opportunity to do it, and ever since then that's kind of what took off the non-wing career.
Had you raced a 410 before that, so you had at least experience with the horsepower?
I did not. Nope.
Oh, wow.
Jumped right into it.
I mean, what I was doing. That wingless stuff, I mean, I really enjoy watching it, but it would be hard enough to convince me to get into a sprint car. You take the wing off, and there's a big F no coming right after that.
Yeah, for some reason the word non-wing scares a lot of people, but to me, I just, I wanted to do it and had no fear doing it, so.
And you liked it? I mean, you obviously enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, loved it. And then the next year, we decided to build our own non-wing car and follow the War Series down in Missouri.
How did the whole Bade Motorsports deal come about?
I got a phone call one day from Butch asking me to come down and talk to him after I got off work. And the call probably couldn't have come at a better time because it was right when our non-wing schedule came out last year. And they kind of seemed to shift towards Illinois area and kind of just further away from where we'd been running. So we were only going to probably make maybe 5 or 6 of the shows. So I went down there and talked to him, and he told me that he was wanted to go for a championship. So right off the bat, I was kind of like, I haven't drove a wing car for 3 or 4 years, and you want me to go out and try and win you a championship? Okay. And that's where it all started. I just, with the non-wing stuff getting so far away and getting offered that car, I couldn't turn it down.
Well, and he obviously had confidence in your skills to even offer you the ride, even though you hadn't been in one for a couple of years.
Yeah, and, I thank him enough for backing me and staying behind me, because the first couple of weeks I was a little rusty.
It takes a little while to get used to it, and not only that, but you're dropping down quite a bit of horsepower.
Yeah, and that was another big thing we had kind of struggled with for a while at the beginning of the year. It was just trying to set the car up like we used to with the 360 in them, and it doesn't work like that. You got to keep them a little bit freer, and everything kind of slowed down a little bit compared to the 360s.
But it's still enjoyable racing. I mean, I think they're at the perfect track with that being that bull ring. The action's able to stay pretty hot and heavy the entire feature.
Yeah, like when the track flicks off, it's almost identical to running a 360 around there. I'm pretty sure lap times are almost the same.
Able to have a pretty good season. You got really close several times to picking up the win. Not able to get it done this year, so I imagine you have extended your contract with Butch to be able to go race the 2019 season with him.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. Just nothing set in stone yet, but I mean, the way we've talked, it kind of sounds like we got some things we were going to try next year, and just kind of, like I said, pick up where we left off this year, I hope. So.
Yeah, I mean, you going into the Race Saver Nationals, it looked like I was putting my good money on the last couple of points nights at Eagle. You were going to pick up a win, but you know how it goes. You need luck just as much as you need a good car, and then the Nationals didn't really work out very well for you.
No, we the first night we just drew really bad and got stuck in the back of the last heat race, which was I think 15th, and by then that track was already gone. So there wasn't really a whole lot of passing, and I think that put us somewhere in the middle, like the E feature, I think, for that night, and ended up winning the E and just didn't make it out of the D. But got a second chance of it on Sunday and won the heat race, and then third in the feature that night, which locked us into the big dance, and then had a kind of a solid finish. I think we got 14th out of that. So,
how much did the weather kind of throw everybody off? Because I know I kind of felt like it a lot too. You'd sit there and get to the track and you look around and you'd be like, well, I don't think we're going to be racing tonight. I don't think we're going to be racing tonight. And then that damn stubborn Roger Hayden would get the track all ready to go, and he's like, all right, boys, let's go racing.
Yeah, when I saw that track Sunday at whatever time, 10 a.m., and it was a pond down there in 3 and 4, I figured there's no way he's getting this thing started at 2 o'clock like he wants to. And I think he got it started around 3.
Yeah.
So, and then the whole time of the makeup feature, I think it would have been Saturday night's feature that we ran Sunday before everything.
Mm-hmm.
It rained the whole time almost. I remember going down the front stretch and watching the water droplets come off the visor and seeing vapor trails coming off of Zach Blurton's wing. So I knew it was raining the whole time, and luckily it stayed green and the track didn't get too wet. So it kind of kept it blown off, and we were able to get it in.
Yeah. Talk to me about your season. What does Ryan Kitchen give himself as a grade for how you did in that 21 Bade Motorsports Race Saver car?
For not running a wing car for 3 years and just hopping right into it, I'm going to probably say a B. There's a couple nights that we kind of took ourselves out of it, really, at the beginning of the year. And we struggled, like I said, trying to set the car up a little bit. And I think if we would have had a few better nights, and the 2 nights that we didn't finish the feature, we probably would have been first or second trying to get the points championship with Druki and Gullion. Yeah,
it was getting to be a real close battle there. And you got Boston in the mix, too, that he's ever so tough. So, and it doesn't sound like things are going to get much easier for 2019.
No, I'm sure everybody's going to return with the same stuff, and probably a couple new people too. So,
do you ever go by with an ice pick and just punch little holes in their right rears or anything like that?
Yeah, if I would get away with it, I would. But I don't want to cause anybody bad luck, but I need a little luck myself sometimes. Yeah. And we were so close this year, and just weren't able to seal the deal.
Well, let's maybe next year get some salt, throw it over your shoulder, walk outside, turn around 3 times and spit. Let's try some things of getting some superstition out of the way and getting some good luck on your side.
Yeah, definitely going to need it. I know there's probably going to be some new people coming in, like I said, and Trey Gropp, I don't know if he's going to run again, but it's going to be his second year. He's going to be even better this year, so we'll see what happens.
What's your plans for the off season? You got any special races planned you're going to go run, or are you just going to kind of relax?
Well, we got one more this Saturday down in Grand Valley. We're going to go run the non-wing car for the last time. And after that, nothing too exciting planned. Just close on a house next week, so I'll be moving. And
my next question was going to be like, are you going to be like a Bade and go find a beach to go lay on somewhere? But if you just close on a house, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, by the way, Dan and I are busy that weekend, so we can't help you move.
I told him, I said, if you ever want to take me on a trip, just let me know and I'll pack the bag. But he hasn't gave into that one yet.
Yeah, it's them dang girls. They got him wrapped around the finger, don't they?
They do.
It's got to be fun working for him, though, because, I mean, he seems like a pretty knowledgeable, laid-back guy that you can kind of lean on a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Type of guy that give his shirt off his back to anybody, and anything you ever need, you just ask him for it, and more than likely give it to you.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. So no plans to go race anything else? Anything in 2019? You going to go try to race the Chili Bowl or something?
If somebody has a ride open and offers me it, I'll definitely go.
Okay.
But I can't afford to rent one, so.
Well, they're just midgets. They're not that expensive, are they?
Yeah, they are. That's a bad thing.
Have you ever raced the Chili Bowl before?
I have not. Only been down there to watch, but someday I'd like to get in one and race it.
Well, let's find you a good sponsor and let's get you down there behind the wheel.
I'd love it. Let's do it.
All right.
Hey, there's a guy somewhere in South Carolina that's looking to sponsor some racing, I heard, after Tuesday night.
Where's that? Who is it? Give me his number.
Yeah, they haven't released his name yet. I just know he's from Simpsonville, South Carolina. He got an extra $1.5 billion the other day, so he might be a good guy to talk to.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we could win that too, but unfortunately I had to get up and go to work. So
yeah.
I just wasn't the winner.
A lot of us did.
I had the 05. I just missed the other 5 numbers.
It's so close.
I think I got my ticket here. I don't even know. I didn't hit any of them, so not a thing.
Talking to Ryan Kitchen, driving the number 21 for Bade Motorsports in 2018. Hopefully he's going to be back in the ride for 2019, and I look forward to seeing you down on the front stretch at Eagle Raceway when you pick up that first win.
Yeah, hopefully we can get one. So looking forward to it.
All right. How's your wing dance? I know you're a non-wing guy, but have you been practicing your wing dance?
I have not. I don't know what I'm going to do when I win one.
Well, trust me, from the way that Josh Riggins celebrated his win in 2018, practice.
Yeah. That's the thing. The fence climbing's been done, and I don't know if anybody's taken a few laps around the go-kart track yet, but I think that would be kind of cool.
That might be. Gear it up and go. Yeah.
Yeah, just tear it up. I'm sure Roger ain't going to be very happy, but I'll give it a try.
He's usually not very happy anyway, so you might as well have fun with it.
See if you can do a wheelie-only victory lap. How about that?
Yeah, we might be able to try that.
All right.
Hopefully it's flex in the racetrack, but if it's slick, I don't think that's going to happen.
Get your liver ready, because I got a feeling it says there's going to be some alcohol drank after that night.
Probably at the banquet. Probably at liver practice.
As I said, when we do win, I'm pretty sure we'll have lots of shots of Fireball that night at the trailer.
I would only hope. Enjoy the off-season. Congratulations on buying the house. Good luck getting moved into it. Apologize, we're busy that weekend and we can't help you out.
That's all right. I don't got very much. I'm just a single guy. I only got, maybe a trip and a half of stuff to take. So.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Yep. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you.
Ryan.
So, again, that was Ryan Kitchen. Driving
single
number 21.
Ryan Kitchen.
The single Ryan Kitchen. He's a good-looking guy. I can't believe he's single. That kind of amazes me.
I've
then again,
never had the pleasure of meeting him. So
George Clooney went so many years being single, but you could always see him with a girl on his arm. So maybe I'm just not seeing the full story.
There you go.
All right. Follow him on Facebook, and you'll see him out at Eagle Raceway, hopefully back in that Bade Motorsports number 21 race saver for Ryan Kitchen. So good guy. Really wanted to see him find victory lane in 2018. He was just not able to get there. Got so close. Got a couple of seconds. Couple of thirds, was so close so many times, but you know how it goes. It can slip away in an instant.
Yep, especially at that little bull ring, and especially with that competition in that class, very tight.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk to one of my favorite young gun profiles we've done, and it's not because of what he's accomplished, what he wants to do, his sponsors, or anything like that. It's the nickname. You'll hear more coming up in turn number 3. We'll be back with Rowan Mason.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to it. Rolling into turn 3, as the big voice guy just said. Here on the front stretch, Dan and Dirk hanging out with you this morning. About halfway through the show, still to come. We're going to preview today's race at Martinsville. But on the phone now is, like I mentioned last turn, it's one of my favorite nicknames in all of racing because it's unique. You know, you get so many of these guys that are the high side hustler or the
Marquette missile.
Right. You know, there's cliche nicknames for everybody, but this has got a real one. We're talking to the driver of typically the number 28, Rowdog Mason. Rowan Mason. It's an easy one to get to. It just rolls right into Rowdog, and I love it. It's so perfect. How did you get that name, Rowan?
You know, a crazy thing, I tried out for the basketball team my freshman year of high school. I didn't make it, but they had a student manager program for it. And I thought it would be a really good idea and to be around my friends a lot. So I did that, and that year some of my friends just kind of started calling me in, and it just kind of stuck ever since then.
I love the nickname. Ever since I saw your profile, literally I was writing up your profile, and I'm like, what's under a nickname? Rowdog. That's awesome. I love that nickname. It's unique, and that's one key aspect to a nickname should be unique to you.
Definitely. I'm just glad it stuck in high school because now it kind of is catching on in the racing. And this year I wanted to incorporate it a lot more with the car, and that's why we got the dog on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
To go along with the nickname.
You're in the number 28 a hobby stock. You've been racing for IMCA points. Talk about what got you into 2018, what you've done before then, and then talk a little bit about your 2018 season.
You know, I haven't really been involved with racing for quite a while. I mean, I really just started getting into it, probably the year before I started watching some NASCAR races with my uncle, and my uncle had a buddy who I believe it was his nephew that raced go-karts, and we kind of just started watching him race when they were wrapping up their season. And we went out to the Lancaster Event Center for the Turkey Chase that year, and I was just hooked on go-kart racing from there. And I believe it was either that January or February, we ended up with taking home a kart. And from 2014 to 2017, we raced a 206 cage kart. You know, I really wasn't that consistent. That's the one knock I've got on myself is just that the inconsistencies. But in the latter part of my kart career, full-time anyways, we were able to knock off quite a few wins. And after in 2017, winning at every track that I raced at, we had been talking about it for a little bit, but I just didn't feel that it was the right time to move up. We finally started talking about moving up, and we felt a little bit more comfortable doing it. So we kind of got into talk of, hobby stock or sport mod, what do we really want to do? And we ended up getting into hobby stock for this year.
Yeah, I think the sport mod class, it's a nice class, and I don't want to talk bad about it, but there's a lot of people in that class that can give you bad habits and tear up a lot of equipment that you don't need to be tearing up.
Definitely. And you know, last year I was absolutely astonished with myself. I've never been a consistent guy. I mean, it seemed like whenever we were running pretty halfway decent, we'd find some sort of trouble in the go-kart. But last year it was just absolutely incredible that we stayed out of trouble really a lot in that hobby stock, and it just absolutely blew my mind.
Are you able to kind of look back at the two different scenarios and the two different versions, the inconsistent Rowan and the consistent one, to figure out what you've done different?
I've just been a lot more calm. I think is the main thing is that I've just been a lot more calm and how I approach it. Just really the big thing was just the approach. Mm-hmm. I mean, how I approach it coming into a night, going into each race, I don't know why or when I started thinking it differently, but I mean, it's just a snap of the fingers, just like that. It's just been incredible.
Well, experience is so big, you know, and once you had a few races under your belt, I know guys still talk about, even guys that have raced 20 years, say the first 2 laps, you still got a little butterfly in your stomach going on. But, you know, once you settle in, that you're good for the night, you know.
Definitely.
So this year you've been racing. You started off racing the 28, but you switched to the 29 at a very unfortunate moment.
Yeah, it really was. We took about a couple month break. I was getting settled in, ready to start college, getting into a new place in Lincoln, and didn't race for a while. And then we were just getting back on track at Eagle and running a B feature, and we're under yellow. And I got a really good buddy of mine. He used to race hobbies, Tim Kozak. A lot of people have probably heard about the story, but he got hit under yellow out by the starting cone, or the flag stand cone at Eagle, and it happened right in front of me. I'm not going to talk too much about what exactly happened, but he got hit by a car, and it just really hit hard on me, just because I knew that he was a really good friend, and it didn't look good. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
I saw him. I went and saw him at the hospital that Monday, and as I'm going over there, I didn't really know exactly when I started to think about it, but I knew that he'd raced hobbies before, 29 orange number, and I kind of just thought to myself, well, maybe to do a little something supportive and tributive to him, I'd ask him if he would let me race that number. And I wanted to ask him too. I didn't want to go out there and do it just in case somebody else had done it, and just for respect reasons.
Yeah.
And so I brought it up to him, and he was like, hell yeah, go for it. So we ran the whole rest of the year after that with 29, and just had a great run with that number too. I am beyond impressed with how I did this year.
Yeah, you didn't do too bad throughout the area. I know you came over and raced at Eagle a couple of times, and you were able to hold your own. It was also fun watching you race in the infield there when I was able to hang out and actually see you. Are you planning on racing the hobby again in 2019, or are you going to move up to a super late model or a sprint car now?
Oh, we're definitely staying in that hobby. That hobby stock class is way too fun, man.
Isn't it?
I mean, I'd love to be able to race anything, really. I mean, I've always kind of liked how Clausen would be able to go and just hop in any sort of different sprint car, Larson, and just all these guys just going out there and running different classes. It's something I want to be able to do, is run a lot of different classes, but man, the hobby stocks are so much fun. At Eagle alone, you got 10 guys that could win.
Yeah.
You easily got at least 10 guys that could win. Everybody is just so consistent with each other, except for Ware. Ware's just got the whole field walked, but
yeah.
But
he can use guys up a little bit too.
Oh, a little bit, but you got to be aggressive. It's just hard not to be aggressive and get anywhere with it. So, you got to stick your nose in there, and I learned that through the course of the year, and I think it showed with the results too.
It's hands down the class that I've noticed the most, that whenever somebody gets out of the car and pulls that helmet off, it's hard for them to get the helmet off because they're grinning so much. And I've watched, like you talked about, Jeff Ware and Roy Armstrong lean on each other lap after lap, put the bumper to them, pull every trick in the book, trying to get around them. And you're sitting there watching it, and you're thinking, oh, these guys aren't happy with each other. I'm getting excited as an infield reporter because I'm going to have something to talk about, and there's going to be something I can report on. And then they get out, and they got these huge smiles, and they run over to the car, and they big old hug, and they're laughing, and man, that was awesome. And I tell you, that is the only class that I have never seen two guys get mad at each other after a race.
Oh, yeah. That is why Roy Armstrong is hands down my idol when I was watching that Eagle, when I wasn't racing big cars there. The dude's just a class act.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the utmost respect for him. I will race him as clean as I try not to touch anybody on track, but I'm going to make 2 times, 10 times as sure that I don't touch Roy, just because he is an absolute class act. He'll race you clean, and even if you do rub a little bit, he'll BS and joke around about it and whatnot afterwards.
Yeah, you really can't say it enough. He's such a stand-up guy. Really nice guy, and I love seeing him in victory lane. And oddly enough, I still love seeing him lose because he's kind of that Iron Man that he's so hard to beat that when somebody does, man, it's the best day of their life, and that's a fun thing to watch too.
Oh yeah, no kidding. I was leading the feature one time at Eagle. It was the only time I was leading the feature, but
Hold on. Let me stop you. You got to get your racing storytelling correct, okay? You have led many a laps at Eagle Raceway, okay? The stories have got to get bigger, so we got to exaggerate a little bit. That's the way this racing storytelling works.
Yeah, true. But it was at least the first time I was leading a feature at Eagle. I'll put it like that.
Oh,
Was this the 200-lap feature or the 300-lap feature?
Oh, geez. I mean, I wish it was only a 3-lap feature because I looped it on 4.
All right, here's what we're going to do. You were leading the feature with 2 flat tires.
With 3 laps to go.
Your hood was gone. You were blowing an engine, and you had about an ounce left of gas. All right, now what happened on lap 4?
Going to 1, loop it. I guess it was more like a half spin. I go down into the infield of the backstretch, and I can come in back behind. It was Ware, and I get passed by Roy, and he pulls me a little bit, and then I just kind of watch his line and start reeling him back in. I'm just like thinking to myself, holy cow, man, I'm reeling in Roy Armstrong, and this is my first year. And I'm just absolutely astonished.
The pressure's starting to build in that helmet because it won't expand with the head.
Oh, God. It is just unbelievable, man, I tell you.
Did you have any trouble getting out of the car after the race?
Thankfully not. No, honestly, no. No.
Well, what do you got going on for the rest of the year?
A buddy of mine from the go-kart days, I never raced against him, but Don Rasmussen, he's given me a heck of an opportunity to race his adult clone flat kart at the Turkey Chase this year. And I've raced his Outlaw kart a couple times, won in it once, and then this last Saturday I raced out at Tuxedo Park Raceway, the new track that Nick Dice has going on in Crete, and ran really good. I mean, it was my first time in adult clone flat. I knew that there were a lot of just bad to the bone guys that run that Maxxis Midwest series all the time, and just being able to run with that was just striking. Yeah. I'm not very grammatically good.
He's still
here,
thinking about those 2 flat tires he was racing with.
No, he's thinking about that thimble full of gas you gave him to finish the race.
He finished, didn't he?
Brad Keselowski'd be proud to get that kind of gas mileage.
So we're going to see you in action at the Turkey Chase. Are you racing the 28, the 29, a different number? What are you racing?
Don Rasmussen's number.
I'm racing Don's 15.
Okay. All right.
Don's
so
15.
We'll see you in the adult clone 206 class, and then planning on racing the hobby stock for IMCA points again in 2019?
Yep. We're going to try and plan on making Beatrice and Eagle weekly shows. We're going to see if we can get out to US 30. I mean, I raced there once. I wanted to get out there so much more than what I did this year. Mm-hmm. It's a hands down a much better facility than what it's been with Bobby Lincoln running it. He's just done an absolutely fantastic job with it. So I really plan on hoping to get out there quite a bit next year. I was really hoping to maybe get out to Raceway Park a bit next year, but there's that place is up for sale now, and I just hate it. That was by far one of my top 3 favorite tracks to go to, aside from Martinsville and Beatrice, or not Martinsville. Marshalltown. I'm getting ready for the NASCAR weekend, man, I tell you.
Well, I was just going to say that, we interviewed a guy last week that ran the 15 car, and he walled it. So you better be careful running that 15 down at the Turkey Chase, because I don't know if it was us or just him.
I mean, not knock on wood here. I mean, I've been upside down before a couple times at that event. So in a cage cart, though, in the flat cart, and maybe in a flat cart, I can keep it on all 4s for once. But
that'll leave a mark.
Oh, geez, yeah.
All right, buddy. We look forward to talking to you next year, and hopefully we'll see you at Eagle and be able to talk to you on the front stretch.
Oh, definitely. It's the goal of mine for next year is to be able to run up front with Ware and Armstrong and hopefully pull off a few feature wins.
All right, say it with me, fans. Rowan Rowdog Mason joining us on the phone. Thanks a lot, Rowan. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see you in a couple weeks at the Homestead Party.
And he's gone. Yeah. What a fun interview. He was a fun guy to talk to. I still think he's got to work on his racing storytelling. I mean, it's very similar to fishing storytelling. You catch yourself a goldfish, you don't tell anybody that. You caught a 35-pound bass. That's what happened.
It got away.
Right, it did. Or you catch and release, but you don't have the evidence, oddly enough. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 4. Rowan, man, I know you're listening. Listen up, because we're going to give you the tips for today's race at Martinsville. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting.
Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to it. Just about ready to wrap this baby up, rolling into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of the Homestead Viewing Party going on November 18th, starting at noon. You can always get there early or you can get there a little bit late. We'll start partying at about noon. We'll have great beer specials and wing specials, plus we'll have all your opportunities to win cash prizes, but you've got to sign up for those before the drop of the green flag, and you'll have your opportunity to win some great prizes from Quaker Steak and Lube.
We'll have our hats for sale.
Absolutely.
We've already got a couple people said to bring them and reserve them. In Kansas City, something that's going to go down into the prize vault. We actually secured a Goodyear Eagle tire and might be able to do that a little more often. It was a little bit of work, but we got it done.
Well, I got to give you credit. I thought those Goodyear guys could run fast, but apparently Dirk Houston can outrun them. Because, man, you were you grabbed and go.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to believe that story when they put it in a bag for you.
No, come on. I'm trying to help you out. Like you and Rowan here. We got to get your storytelling right. You gave a whole new meaning to 2 tires and go.
Well, with as much gas as I'd been leaving for the last 12 hours, there was no gas and go, that's for sure.
You were full on that. All right, so we had such a great time down in Kansas. You guys, one of these days we got to get a film crew to follow us. Well, no, we don't need any evidence of the things we do.
There you go. I mean, that's why I'm glad there was no social media when I was a teenager. Holy moly.
Could you imagine? Hey, today's race at Martinsville Speedway will be on NBCSN starting at 12:30 with the green flag set to wave at 1:30. If you don't have NBCSN and you want to watch the race, which I don't know why you wouldn't, it's Martinsville, baby. Get on down to Quaker Steak and Lube and watch it on the big screens at the Lube. They'll get you taken care of. And they've got a new sauce out. It's a Budweiser barbecue sauce that apparently is fantastic. So I got to get down there and try that.
I can't have it.
No?
Budweiser. I don't drink.
Well, it's just Budweiser flavored. I mean, there's no alcohol in Budweiser anyways, so it's like a near beer pretty much.
Is that what they teach you in Iowa?
Did I just make fun of a lot of our listeners? Anyways, so today's race at Martinsville, like we kind of talked about in turn number 1, there's not a lot of storylines out there that you could say, hey, watch out because these two want to get even. The only one you could look back on is what happened a year ago with Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin, but I think that's pretty much been squashed with the way that Hamlin raced Elliott at Dover a few weeks back. So I think everyone's pretty much safe, but that doesn't mean tempers aren't going to flare. These guys get pretty huffy pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to see the 8 guys. I would not be surprised to see all 8 of these guys qualify very well, like in the top 12 cars or so. And everybody's going to be going after every single point. So those 8 cars in the playoffs, there's not going to be any, I'm going to run around here for 50 laps and, just hold my position. They're all going to be trying to move forward and get the bonus points for the first 2 stages because they've seen here in the last couple races how important those are.
Absolutely. And to those points, 2 things are very critical. A lot of times when you're at the 1.5 mile tracks, qualifying is not necessarily that important because you have plenty of time to come through the field as long as you have a good car. At a track like Martinsville, they're going to be into lap traffic about 10, 15 laps into the race?
Yeah, just depending on exactly, how the field is. But, yeah, very easily, 15, 20 lap mark, they'll be starting to lap cars. I didn't look at a pre-entry list, so I don't know if they got close to a full field or not.
They do have a full field.
Yeah. So
40 cars registered.
Yeah, well, yeah, so hopefully they all show up anyway, and, they have a full field. If they do that, you might see a car or 2 drop out early, but most of these guys anymore are trying to make a full run of the deal.
If they have a bad qualifying effort and they end up qualifying, let's say, in the 30s. They have a bad qualifying effort because they have a bad car. They've got a lot of work to do in that final practice, and if they're not able to get it right, they could be a lap down within the first 40 to 45 laps. So it's very, very critical for them to have a good qualifying lap. To the point you were just making, it's also critical for them to qualify close to the top 10 because then they've got an opportunity to get stage points. Martinsville is a very difficult track to pass at. If you've got a good car and you qualify in the back because you made a mistake, you can get through the top 20 pretty easily. But then things start to pack up, and you've got a lot tougher competition. So these 8 playoff drivers, qualifying is critical for them.
And a pit road speeding penalty here, especially under green, is a killer because it's 2 laps.
Yeah.
You are going 2 laps down if you have to tootle around the pit at pit road speed. So you're going to see guys... Well, I don't want to say, not gambling because they are going to push it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of the beast.
Yep.
But I don't think you'll see those 8 guys in the playoffs with a pit road speeding penalty. I think they'll, play it close to the vest.
Hamlin's not in there, right?
Nope, Hamlin is not
I don't
in
think
there.
any of them are going to get pit road speeding penalty. How odd was it for Kevin Harvick to get one last weekend at Kansas? I mean, that's just one of those that you kind of stop and go, wait, did they say that wrong? Harvick or Hamlin? Harvick?
Yeah, I don't recall. Did he get it going in or coming out?
I don't think they said.
Because they normally do say, and coming in would be one that he could possibly get because just if you don't get slowed down enough by the first line, you're kind of screwed. Mm-hmm. Going out, usually you don't see quite as many of them there. It's usually just getting to the pits. So
unless they're racing somebody really close and they burp it to try to get cross that line just a little bit quicker and they get caught. Yeah, that was an odd little bit of a thing. But again, he's trying to get everything he can, even though he had such a fast car. That's what that gives you a little insight to Kevin Harvick. He knows he has the car on the track. His crew gets it done in the pits, and he still speeds because he's pushing that limit a little bit.
Well, Harvick wanted to win, like we talked a little earlier in the show, to be a spoiler. Mm-hmm. He would have just as soon, if he wins the race, he locks out pretty much Keselowski, Blaney, and Larson.
And he's got 5 extra points for the round of 8. And that's something that, as we already talked about, too, isn't a big deal here at Martinsville because that's not going to go anywhere after this round. With 3 races, the points are gone for Homestead. That's going to do it for us today. We appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you to all of our great sponsors, Joe's Karting, Quaker Steak and Lube, Archer Purdue Auto Sales for sponsoring all the live shows this year, Jim Blazina. By the way, we're also going to have Jim Blazina and Front Stretch koozies available at the Homestead party, so you'll be able to pick up one of those because, God forbid, your drink get... As we're getting into the winter months, God forbid it get warm or colder.
Whatever. So your hand don't get cold.
There you go. That's why you have a koozie this time of year.
Of course, Rick Havenridge.
Thank you to Rick Havenridge. I was hoping to do a 5-week update, but we just had too much fun talking to Ryan and Rowan, Rowdog, Mason. So
go over and log in and update yourself.
There you go. We'll get you updated next weekend. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next weekend to do it all over again. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.